All right, here we go.
Hello and welcome to the first installment of the Spider-Man Game Club, GI Game Club, that is. We're covering everything within the first act of Spider-Man. No bones about it. Everything up until the big political speech/rally. I'm here. Leo Vader is here.
Hi.
Out of the booth, onto the table. Kerplat!
Swinging in.
Yeah, then we have Ben Reeves.
Here I am.
Okay, we have Suriel Vazquez.
Less enthusiastic, definitely.
All right, now let's get serious. Here's our last cast member.
You might remember him from Destiny 2 Forsaken.
That's
okay. Kyle's in the booth. Kyle, is this my camera? All right. Dear camera, I want to make some... Well, not quite.
Doing a bad job.
Camera comedy. Doing a great job, Kyle. Here's the thing. YouTube, people listening, we like Spider-Man. I have a feeling we're all going to like this game. We're not experts on comic books. Ben Reeves has read a lot of them. We're going to get things wrong. We're going to ask questions that I bet some people out there on the internet will say, that's the dumbest Spider-Man question I've ever heard in my life. Please forgive us for our sins as we forgive those who trespass against us, as
Amen.
Aunt May said as Green Goblin flew through her window that one time, which was very funny. Those eyes, those horrible eyes.
Do you think comic nerds are the most like religious of like truth sayers?
I would say they're the greatest folks under the sun, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about Spider-Man. Here we go. Ben Reeves, just setting the table here. I assume everybody outside of Ben Reeves is in the same camp. We've probably seen every Spider-Man movie, love the cartoon.
I read the comics for a little while during the Civil War era. But
Okay, and then Reeves, what is your history with Spider-Man?
I used to be him. I crawled up inside of his skin. When I was a kid, I actually hated Spider-Man just because like the spider thing. Because I don't like spiders, is what I'm saying.
Oh, so it seems like, yeah, very defining.
so a little man in the mix, though, and he's into it now.
But yeah, then I got into comics, and I was like, I might check out the Spider-Man thing, and quickly became like my favorite character, I would say, of all time.
Really? So this is a very holy thing for you. You are one of those religious nuts for
I would say
Spider-Man.
beyond comic books, even. He's like the coolest character, like fictional character.
Holy God. And you know a lot about the comics history, but again, I'm sure we're going to get some things wrong.
Yes. Among my friends, I'm an expert, but also I'm sure there's people watching who are going to laugh at things I say.
There are people who are going to go look at the Wikipedia article and fact check us and say, you're wrong because I know all of this stuff.
I get it. We can't complain out of the gate. Again, podcast@gameformer.com, all feedback, all thoughts. That's what the Game Club's all about. Big community playthrough. So I have... Oh my gosh, so many pages of notes, my own notes, things people have written in. Everybody wrote in with amazing things. And the best part is...
Spectacular things.
It was true. Everyone was like specific. It's everything I could hope for. They say, what's up with this detail? And I'm going to talk about this detail for a little bit. And that is the best case scenario for reading on the Game Club instead of a scattershot of everything. So be specific. Let's get nitty gritty. That's the point of a Game Club. Out of the gate. Let me open with a little email I got here.
You guys are idiots.
How did I know already?
Oh, man.
Ben Reeves did like Spider-Man as a child.
Oh, no.
Joshua Minette writes in and says, this Game Club is surreal. Spider-Man is the first Game Club game that I've worked on. I've been looking forward to hearing what everyone's thoughts are on the game.
Oh.
So he's in the QA team at Insomniac.
The QA is probably the weakest part of the game so far.
I was not happy with the QA.
I was not assured by the quality of that game at all.
Anybody else that works at Insomniac, feel free to write it. This will be fun. Podcast@gameformer.com
cool.
if you have thoughts or corrections.
That's awesome.
Out of the gate, though, Leo Vader, you were on the cover story. You did the rapid-fire questions, which I have to say, after starting this game, I went back and watched again, and I was again amazed at how good you are in that video.
Thank you.
Just unbelievable. But what do you think about Insomniac Spider-Man?
Great game.
You're loving it.
Yeah, it's good. I'm less into the story than I am. It goes combat, swinging, story for how into it I am right now.
Oh, that's a very good ranking.
Oh,
okay.
that's kind of cool.
Personally, I think it might be swinging, #1, story, and then combat 3.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm swinging combat story.
Okay. I think I'm with Leo. I think combat swinging story.
I was really surprised how much I like the combat.
Yeah.
Wow.
It feels very unique to me. Like, they did a really good job of making a fighting system that feels totally unique to Spider-Man. Like, it couldn't be in any other game, obviously. There's so much web shooting.
Right. And it really is funny diving into this game of like, oh, I guess the Spider Sense is just the perfect counterattack notification.
Right.
Like, fictionally, it works out so well.
They kind of stole it for the Arkham games, and it works good there, but yeah.
No, Batman also has spider sense in the comics.
Yeah.
His enemies do,
He built it, but it still technically works.
They all have like a collective, sort of creature sense. You know, like
Reeves, how are you feeling about this game? Broad sense.
Overall, yeah, I'm so far really liking it. There are things that bother me.
Wow.
And it's easy to like get hung up on those, but when I look at the big picture, like and I'm not done with it yet, but like it's probably the best Spider-Man game so far that I've ever played.
Right.
And like there's heights that reach really close to the Arkham games.
Yeah.
But then it's like got a lot more, I want to say maybe kind of junky stuff, like some stuff that like just feels like busy work.
Some junk in Spider-Man's trunk. And,
Exactly.
And
That's
we're
what
gonna
I'm
talk,
trying
In his trunk specifically, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all that stuff. That'll be fun. Where are you at, Suriel?
I am really enjoying it. Like I think I agree with Reeves in that there's sort of a couple rough edges that I'm having issues with. I struggled a little bit with the combat at first, just because the button
We're
we're
going to get into it, buddy.
But I think I have a weird thing because I don't think it's as good as the Arkham games at their best, but I feel like it is a better embodiment of Spider-Man than the Arkham games were for Batman.
Yeah,
Wow,
I mean,
that's a bold
Batman
claim.
games
Okay.
didn't feel like Spider-Man games at all.
Yeah.
Rocksteady, get your head out of your ass.
I think this does a better job of channeling Spider-Man than I think the Arkham games do of channeling Batman.
Okay. All right. That's a great take. Overall, yeah, I think I was a little bit slower out of the gate, especially with combat. Like, it was pretty early on in those early fights. I was like, I don't know if I want a whole game of this. I don't know about the combat. I'm getting there now, and I'm enjoying it more and more. And we'll definitely dive into everything, but I'm enjoying it even more than I thought I would, especially because I was nervous about the writing in particular, and that I think has exceeded my expectations. We'll dive into all this stuff. Okay, Jordan Edmond, big thumbs up here from Radford, Virginia, says, hello, Ben and crew. So far, I'm absolutely loving Spider-Man. It lives up to the hype, and I feel like it can only get better from here. Well, we don't know, but we'll see. The greatest moment so far to me has been the opening of the game. Seeing Peter running around his apartment, suiting up is great.
Feel so alive.
Was that the song during the cover story trip?
I believe it's the same song.
Okay, I was very curious because I don't know that song. Who is that?
I don't know either.
Okay. My non-gamer roommate was watching me play, and we both lost our S as Spider-Man jumped out his window and right into web-slinging gameplay. What's happening? I don't think I have played a game that has such an immediate, gratifying gameplay mechanic that still feels as fun at hour 8 as it did from the beginning.
Well,
That's
I hope
amazing.
you find your S.
I love that opening too. I didn't expect to get such a thrill out of it, but just like that slow shot of going through his apartment, which I think you guys even mentioned before on the podcast from the cover story trip.
Yep, we saw that.
But there are
cutscene.
so many details in there where it is just like, it's just a good table setting. Here's exactly where he's at. You got the jars with no money in them, panning over to, hey, this villain's locked up here. It sets the scene exactly where you need it, and then bam, gameplay.
And it totally works whether you know Spider-Man or not.
Yeah.
Like, it gives you information either way that you appreciate.
Yeah.
For sure. The one weird thing is I think it works and you have to do it. Like I love the idea of setting this in Spider-Man's Prime and all that stuff, but there was an odd disconnect obviously out of the gate, but there's so much good stuff you can overrule it. But just that idea of Spider-Man, he's saying like, I need to take care of Fisk right now, take care of it so I can get on with my real job. Let's just get over this whole thing, get it over with quick. And then he goes out the window, and I assume everybody in the world playing is like, how can I avoid this mission? How can I just swing around and mess around with the mechanics for as long as possible, right?
Did you try to get out of it? I didn't even try to.
Oh, well, yeah, I was like trying to swing around the city and just like mess and get a feel for the swinging for as long as possible, but it's like you're leaving mission area.
The missiles are
man.
coming your way, Spider-Man. Get back in the mission
It
area.
gives you enough of a sandbox to play around with to get used to the controls. But what did you guys think first feeling it getting out into the city there?
I feel like I more or less beelined it to the mission actually, but
What the hell? Am I alone?
You might be alone. That's really funny. I mean, you're
just
probably not
because
alone, but I didn't do that.
I think it instructs you really early on of like, hey, the first prompt is literally like press R2 to swing, basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like I got enough out of the. I did do a little dawdling when I was kind of experimenting with like how quickly can you turn on a dime, and
Yeah.
it's pretty fast. Like if you rotate the camera and he just immediately swings in the opposite direction. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that initial opening. But yeah, I don't know that I explored as much as maybe you
Wow,
did.
okay.
I'm curious, when's the last time you played a Spider-Man game?
That's a good question. I don't know if I even have one answer for it. I don't know if I've ever played a Spider-Man
Ever?
game.
Wow.
I did because it popped up in my YouTube feed. I watched like reviews. I think it was like IGN reviews for Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which was fun to look back at now. Where it's like, hey, they also built up the whole city. The
Right.
swinging also looks fun in that. But no, I don't think I've ever played a Spider-Man game now that I think about it.
I don't remember when the last Spider-Man game was, like, what, 3 years ago maybe? Sounds right. to
Yeah,
people.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Would that have been the last one? I think so. So
Yeah,
maybe more than that. But yeah.
But I've been reviewing them for like the last 10 years, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so to me, like the swinging around the city, like I think this is the best in the Spider-Man game so far. But it's not novel like it was back in, say, Spider-Man 2 days.
Right.
Where it was like, oh my gosh, this is mind-blowing. I can swing around the city and it's awesome. So for me, kind of to Leo's point, is I kind of just beelined it to that first mission. Because like swinging around the city is fun and the best it's been. But it's also like I've been doing it for 10 years.
Wow.
To some level, like
Okay.
to mediocre levels, but I've still been doing it.
Yeah. I feel like the readers overall are still madly in love. Like so many people had that sentiment of like never using fast travel. I'm never getting sick of swinging around.
I'm not complaining about it by
Yeah.
any means. I'm just saying like it's not novel to me, and I think I kind of wonder if like this is maybe the first Spider-Man game for a lot of
That's
people,
probably what it
or
is,
the
yeah.
first one in a long time.
Right. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I guess, would be the closest I could come up with. And that it didn't give really that swinging freedom sensation that I was
Lego
hoping
Marvel
for.
superheroes you could swing around. Though.
Oh, that's a good
actually, yes, you're
That could be
totally
it.
right.
Yeah.
That counts. Dylan Edmonds says, hey, I'll skip formal introductions and get right down to business. Thank you. I think that this Spider-Man is one of the best, most accurate portrayals ever outside of the spectacular Spider-Man TV
Just like
series.
the real Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The way Spider-Man interacts with all civilians, like he's known them forever, is something we don't see too often, as well as Spider-Man beating himself up when others start to get in trouble. I haven't really seen that side of Spider-Man in any medium for quite some time. Peter Parker is someone who clearly cares for the people in the city and feels absolutely horrible at the thought of them getting into trouble. This game is some of the best writing I've ever had the pleasure of playing through, and all the little bits of dialogue add up to make this Spider-Man the best I've seen in a long time. Anyway, it's time to get back to kicking demon butt. Thanks for reading. Thanks to Insomniac for making such a wonderful story. Yeah, Reeves, does it feel 100% like Spider-Man for you, just personality-wise and knowing the character so well?
Yeah, I would say tonally it feels pretty good, and I don't know. I guess I'm surprised to hear some people like gushing over the writing. I think the writing's good. It's not bad, but it's not. I wouldn't put it up there with like say Uncharted or something as like
No, I wouldn't
quality
either.
storytelling.
Well, no, I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I'm trying to think of even like the writing in Arkham. I guess I like it more. I think like the little emotional moments have hit me a little bit harder. I'm not weeping necessarily, but also I was just really concerned about quips. When you have a character that's quipping all the time, as Leo, you asked in the rapid fire question, which I think was originally a Jeff Cork question. It was, does Spider-Man think he's just the funniest MFer? And Brian Inter, our creative director, his answer was Spider-Man does. Peter Parker does not.
Yeah.
Which is a fun. So I was so worried about like if it's just basically Deadpool here as he's going around the city. I don't want it.
Sure.
But the jokes have mostly landed. Like I have not winced really once, I don't think.
Yeah, and as far as I remember, he doesn't really quip all that much during the actual combat, which is, I think, sort of the biggest avenue where that can get really annoying is if he constantly makes the same remarks.
If he repeats it. But there's still, during combat, everyone says a line like, I'm feeling a little punchy today and stuff like that. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I can move on. That's fine.
Couple times where he repeats a line a couple times, and you're like, I feel like I just heard that like 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
Where I'm like, I kind of wish they had looped some of those out. But yeah, I don't think I'm cringing at any of the lines.
Yeah.
Like I am right now.
Like, to me, the weakest part of the writing so far has been Fisk's writing. Like, his dialogue stuff seems so hokey, like, in comparison to how natural a lot of that stuff feels outside of him. He feels like this... I mean, he feels like the biggest sort of comic booky villain to steal a line. But
Well, also just his heavy foreshadowing of like, Spider-Man, if you get rid of me, all the other villains will run amok in the town. You don't want to do this.
It's like one step above, like, you'll rule this day, Spider-Man. Like, it's not his dialogue. I don't think it's very good, but I think most of...
I think you kind of want a little bit of that with Kingpin, though, don't you?
But it felt out of place because especially for the rest of that game does a pretty good job of not being hokey, whereas he feels totally just completely out of left field for me.
Speaking of foreshadowing, there's a little line, I think at the end of the first mission, where you hear the first J. Jonah Jameson radio.
Yes, exactly.
Where he's like, I'll get you to say something nice about me one of these days,
Yeah,
JJ.
of
I'm like,
course.
oh, in the third act. Great.
That's very true. On the writing here, oh my gosh. Okay, Ethan Evans from Missouri writes in and says, I was just wondering how people were feeling about the dialogue and relationships in the game, specifically the interaction between Peter and, I guess, the side characters. The writing in this first act has seemed really strong to me, and I felt immediate investment in Peter's relationship with Octavius, May, Mary Jane. I think I particularly noticed in that quick mission you do with Jeff Davis towards the end of Act 1, there's nothing really special about it, but something about the warmth and camaraderie between Peter and Jeff made my stomach clench at the end of the mission when Jefferson takes down the last demon. I breathed a sigh of relief when I saw Peter help him up and realized that he hadn't been shot. Of course, it didn't take long for me to see the writing on the wall and where this character is eventually going. But just, the interactions between characters. I agree. I think that mission, just jumping ahead a little bit, with Jefferson Davis, which, is that his name in the comics?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's Miles.
Odd choice, but sure. But I think that mission I was also struck by, like, oh, that's one of my favorite sections of the game, actually, is doing that little warehouse sequence with him. I think it was really sweet.
He was actually a cool character, because I feel like I liked him in this game almost more than I liked him in the comics ever, too. They did a good job of making him personable and like a a cool character.
But also just like the little human details of obviously you might see where this is going, that it's not going to end up well for him. But and at the same time, him just being so nervous about the speech and that being like a big recurring refrain. It's like, that's a nice humanizing little touch.
Sure.
And then also I was struck in that mission when, you help him up the elevator and all that stuff. But then there's like a 15-foot gap. And he's like, don't worry about this one. I've got it, Spider-Man. And then just like leaps across that huge chasm. I was like, good God, man.
Especially
you have
after
Spider-Man there.
especially after you had to help him up with the elevator at
Right.
first, and then he's
It's
like,
like,
no,
at least-
I got this jump.
You should want to be swung across that gap by Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, don't risk it, dude. Are you crazy?
Maybe he'll hang upside down and kiss you.
Yes, it's really a
on.
best case scenario.
They do have a riff on that, though. Like,
Yeah.
At some point, he and a bad guy are hanging upside down. I want to say it's Electro, isn't it?
I think it's Kingpin at the end of the
Kingpin?
first one when you fall through the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
And you're
And
hanging
he's like,
together.
oh, she should be kissed now.
Oh, that's right.
But it's stupid because they're both upside down.
Yeah.
One of them needs to be right side up.
Spider-Man, you're wrong about
Oh,
this
you
fact.
blew it,
Yeah,
Insomniac.
they blew it.
Learn how to kiss, dude.
Did you guys know
hell
who
yeah.
Jefferson was?
I assumed it. Okay, when he's like, boy, my son's a big fan of you. You mentioned his son twice in like the span of 5 minutes, and then I was like, okay. Like I know that like Miles has a black dad and like an Asian mom, and so I was like, okay, factoring in, I got it now.
Oh, I had no idea.
Well, and I kind of wonder, even just this day and age, like how big a character is Miles Morales?
Well,
at this
that's a
point?
great question. We actually have somebody who wrote in on that saying a very, very prescient thing. Oh, here it is. He says...
Because I wonder if some people are just like, why are they spending so much time on this character?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Juan Benitez writes in and says, hey, is Miles supposed to be Miles Morales? His last name wasn't Morales. But yes, can you explain how that works? Is Morales then his mom's name?
Oh, good question. I don't even. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Wait, so is a Hispanic mother then?
Yeah, but she totally looks Asian in the game. So that
Okay.
threw me because I was like, oh, they changed her model now. She's Asian, I guess.
Okay.
So in the game I don't even know. Did they refer to him as Miles Morales?
That's a
I don't
good
think so.
question.
I don't
Like,
think
I don't
they
think
said
you know his
Morales
last
yet.
name
I think at some point.
in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, but they do say Miles.
Yeah.
They say Miles.
Like his friend calls him over as Miles and all that
right.
stuff. Yeah.
Which is
It's
funny
supposed to be
because
that character.
like you first see him when he's like Spider-Man's basically doing that the one mission from the E3 demo, and Miles sort of like has a scene where he texts someone, and at first I was like, they're spending I thought he was just going to be like a cameo because I hadn't figured out the dad thing yet.
Yeah.
So I thought I was like, why are they spending so much time on this cameo? But then towards the end, this character is going to be a part of the story.
Yeah.
At least for now.
Sure. Yeah. His origin story, Reeves, in the comics, is this pulling? Is it remixing? How does it reference it here?
I mean, at this point in the game, I don't know where they're going with it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the comics, it was part of a different universe to begin with, but there was like another spider that he got bit by from the same batch of spiders that Peter got bit with.
Right.
So that's how he ended up with very similar powers.
Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know where they're going because I kept wondering. I was like, oh, is he going to have powers or not?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to use lifting stuff at the end of Act 1 there. It's
Yeah.
like he's struggling a lot. You think it
He's
would come out
weak.
now.
Yeah, he's pretty feeble.
Yeah.
Come on.
Not
He's the
amazing
third
at all.
strongest character in the Marvel universe.
Don't do it. Quentin from Moreno Valley, California says, hello, straight to the point. This is looking far into the future, but given the amount of screen time he's receiving, do you think Miles Morales will be a fully playable character in Spider-Man 2? Surely he will be the final DLC in the city that never sleeps, but it seems like Insomniac is really setting him up for bigger and better things. Obviously, the sequel will still star Peter Parker, but I can see them switching between characters just like they're already doing, except this time with 2 Spideys for the price of 1.
That would be weird if they have the character switching, because how different are their powers?
They're very similar. Miles can turn invisible.
Okay.
And he has this like what's he call it, spider shock, where he can like touch you, and then a couple seconds later you get like shocked
Oh.
and paralyzed.
So it would be, meaningfully different, but more stealth missions in the next
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's interesting. How bold would it be though if at the end of the game they kill Peter and then you just play as Miles?
Oh my God.
I don't think they would do that.
I don't think either. But how bold would it be?
They
Guys,
would be cool.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 co-op.
I could see it.
Dual Spider-Man.
I could see it. That's an angle for sure.
Spider-Man?
I mean, they already have the history with Fuse. They have that co-op pedigree at Insomniac.
Yep,
Make
they
it
did co-op
happen.
in Sunset Overdrive too.
Oh, there we go. Maybe more relevant. I didn't know, and Leo, you were much more clued in being on the cover story and stuff. Had they revealed that you play as Miles at all before the game was out?
I don't know if it was like spoiled for me by somebody who wasn't supposed to say it, or if it
Okay.
was part of their press.
So
or
you
whatever.
weren't surprised by it, though?
Not really.
Okay.
Since I knew he was going to be a part of it, probably just from talking around the office, really more than anything. Mary Jane,
Right.
of course, definitely knew we were going to play as her.
Right,
And
yeah,
people
that
were
one
going
I
to be
knew
very
for sure.
surprised by her.
Right.
is what Brian said.
Yes, which I'm still waiting for, but we'll
Still
see.
waiting to be surprised, Brian.
Yeah, we'll see.
2 more acts.
Speaking of surprises, Matthew Davies says, I've actually found many surprises in Spider-Man PS4, so shut up, Leo. From the pacing of the game and to how a lot of these characters are portrayed, a lot of this was unexpected. I thought the coverage for the game released gave away a bit too much, but I'm finding the story quite surprising. I imagine the GI crew would probably have seen more of the game and general audience before its release, so I'm interested in how surprising you found the story overall. The Black Cat side quests are really cool as well. Another clever implementation of having her off-screen ramping up the mystery and the world building even further. Did you have any surprises, Reeves, so far in Act 1?
No.
Really?
I mean, maybe just the scene, the end mission that
Yes.
you do is kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a bigger, more intense thing.
Yes. Okay, so just the darkness of the end of Act 1 in general?
Yeah, maybe I'm just too desensitized or something, but I was like, is this... I didn't even realize until after the fact that's what Reiner was referring to
Right. Huh.
when he talked about the Call of Duty-esque moment.
Sure. The no Russian.
The no
equivalent.
Russian. That's his
right.
no
That
Russian.
was his reference point. Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd go quite that extreme, but like in retrospect, I'm like, oh, I guess that was pretty intense for a Spider-Man game.
Yeah, let's see. We have some thoughts on that. We have Nick, who says, overall, I think the game's absolutely brilliant, with the last half hour of Act 1 in particular blowing me away. I couldn't help but smile throughout the incredible helicopter set piece, especially the ending. The first-person web-slinging was so satisfying, and the image of Spider-Man perched on the helicopter at the end was, for lack of a better term, epic. What really amazed me, though, was how the game went from such a joyous and victorious mood to a soberingly grim mood in an instant. Reiner was right. The bombing was eerily reminiscent of No Russian from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I think the game handles this scenario amazingly well, even though we could tell Martin Lee's involvement from a mile away. I definitely didn't see the game getting this dark, and I can't wait to see how the whole experience progresses from here and how Miles and Peter's relationship evolves. Before I go, I leave you with some of the dumbest Spider-Man quips from Act 1.
Great.
Looks like I get my own private vengeance, which we've... It's really the slogan of the GI show at this point. And then as a rocket is flying towards them, he says, what is this, National Rocket Day? That is a good question. I think I was also, as that sequence started, where I'm like, well, it's the demons using their abstract guns. I was expecting something a little bit more gory, but like the most jarring part of that scene for me, and maybe I'm cold and heartless, was when you're Miles crawling through the car and then like the body falls from like the passenger seat of the car. That's when I was like, oh, this is ratcheting it up to a slightly darker level than I was expecting, being a pessimist here.
Well, it seemed like Miles didn't react quite as like I thought he should. He didn't seem as horrified
Okay.
as I thought he should.
It definitely got a little bit more graphic later on then, with the demons even wiping out more and more folks along the way,
Right.
where it's like, yeah, I don't know if I'd go quite as far as Reiner did, but yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
totally could see why Reiner was like, oh, maybe don't play that one sequence around your kids.
Yeah, it's definitely it definitely I think does mark a tonal shift, because up until this point it's been pretty fun and going, but like I don't think I guess I never really got the No Russian vibes, just because that moment seems so much more intense in terms of
And you're controlling it, which
Yeah,
is just the
right.
huge
Right.
distinction
Yeah.
here. Yeah, but it is bizarre then to go from that sequence of, hey, here's a bunch of 9/11 imagery, and here's a sad funeral, and then like you're back to swinging around as Spider-Man right where we cut out for the game club, and it's like level up, new skill
Yeah.
points, just like this pale
Yeah,
bombast on the screen. It's like, all right,
you should
Hey.
be really bumped, but hey, you got an experience point.
Go do a
Awesome.
mission for your friend Harry.
yeah, check this out, boy, these pollutions are all over the place. Yeah.
I do like the way that they tie the time of day and the weather into kind of like helping build the atmosphere of where you're at in the story. Like when you get out of that mission, it is like a really bleak day and
Yeah.
it's raining.
Right.
I
was
really like how
cool.
they build the atmosphere throughout
Yeah.
the story with that.
John from Aliva, Wisconsin, says, what are your thoughts on how the day-night cycle is handled in the game? Spider-Man is amazing, pun intended, but my only real gripe so far is the day-night cycle being too tied to story missions. I found myself feeling the need to either fly through or put off doing main missions, either prolong or get through certain times of day. Would love the crew's feedback on this. Keep up the great work. I think it's interesting. I think it's worth it so far. I like that it's not just, it's not subtle. Like if a mission's set at night, it's referencing the fact that it's at night, which is my favorite mission so far of Spider-Man being like, I need some place to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
It seems relevant enough where I understand changing it for the time of day.
Yeah.
It is weird when you've been doing like a ton of side missions and then Spider-Man's like, man, I haven't slept since I brought down the Kingpin. You're like, holy crap. That feels like it would have been like
Yes.
a week ago in
Yeah.
your game. But I like it, honestly, because we have so many games that do normal day-night cycles. And I don't know that that's great for creating a world, but like narratively, it's kind of fun to have like the mood of your game set and be exactly what you want it to be.
Right.
It helps with pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a spoiler necessarily, but I know later on, like after you beat the game, you can choose whatever day-night time you want. You know, if you want to run around at sunset, which is when New York is so beautiful, go ahead and do it. You know, and so at that point, it's fine.
Pretty much every side mission has been loading me into nighttime, though. Have you guys
I've had a
noticed
couple
that?
of those where I'm like, this is weird. The first time it happens, you're like, this is weird. Why does it have to load this side mission? But it's just like setting it to a certain time.
Yeah.
Which I wonder, is it fictionally? Like, so this could have happened at any point in Spider-Man's timeline, right?
But it did happen at night.
Well, because there's some, I would say most missions actually feel like there's this sense of urgency. Like, I should really get over here and do this thing. And so it's sort of fiction breaking to think that like Spider-Man would put off some of that stuff. Like, oh, I'm not going to go meet with Mary Jane right away because I'm going to go catch 10 of my backpacks and catch this pigeon and
Sure.
you know, some of that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Speaking of loads, because it'll never be mentioned again, Dimitri Brown says, hello, Game Informer. I've been playing and enjoying the game in the last 24 hours. However, there's one thing about it that can't elude me. The open world. Now, I think the game is brilliantly pulled off, state-of-the-art cinematics, challenging yet fun, rewarding characters, lovely dialogue paired with a strong script, all leads to success, right? Well, yeah, but not if you're creating a huge and layered open world. One of my major gripes is that there are loads everywhere, and deceptive museum-esque buildings that are all for show and you can't enter. I don't know about loads everywhere. That seems like you can go from one side of New York City to the other just fine, right?
Have we all been playing on PS4 Pro?
No, I've based PlayStation.
I'm on a base
Okay.
PlayStation as well.
And the loads haven't been bad?
No, the loads
No.
have been fine.
I mean, yeah, when you die, there's a little bit of a load, but it's okay. And then even like technically, I think during the big E3 original debut of like chasing the helicopter, it bogged a little bit frame rate wise, but not bad at all, really. Anyways, so let's see the loads, blah, blah, blah. I can't recount how many times I did a crime mission alerted about a break-in or side mission, which gave the impression I can trail a baddie inside of a building, but nope, I can't do it. It makes me wonder if Insomniac was using the game with aging technology. I don't know. It's clear there were limitations and restrictions they weren't able to overcome. This got in the way of what could have been a seamless and immersive New York City. Imagine instead of hitting a load screen when entering Feast, Peter's lab, apartment, or any other countless places we entered, you just walk in and walk back out. It would have made a big difference exploring the world and increased its credibility.
He's got to change clothes, though. It would fade to black anyway, I feel like.
Yeah, you're right, unless there's like another little quick time event
quick
as you're putting on
load
your
or
I
something.
feel like
stuff.
the segments he mentions, going into Feast and stuff, I feel like those are not so frequent that I was ever like, okay, we got another loading screen. All right, let's keep going. I feel like they were intermittent enough that I guess I hardly even noticed them.
Well, I wonder if I haven't really done too much of this yet, but if you're just focusing on doing the side content, maybe there's a lot of loads that go through that.
Sure.
But during like the main story progression, I'm not noticing it too much at all.
When we were talking about the time changes, that is a weirdly long load, I feel like.
Yeah.
When it changes to night for a specific side mission.
Oh, okay.
But beyond that, I haven't noticed it.
Gotcha. Other big thoughts. Matthias from Berlin, Germany. Not exactly God's country, but whatever. Okay. The game is a mystery to me. Well, I often have problems with skill trees in games that focus so much on movement. I couldn't get into Infamous Second Son because moving through the city is too slow and boring for a long period of time. Okay. It doesn't bother me in Insomniac Spider-Man. Maybe it's because it feels fun from the get-go, or it's the fact that you soon get to upgrade wherever you want to upgrade first, but Spider-Man's skill tree feels encouraging and motivating. I also hate crafting, and while I still do not know a single game that is improved by crafting mechanics, Spider-Man's crafting elements at least don't feel too intrusive. Finally, I thought it was so over open-world maps littered with meaningless things to do, and yet, in Spider-Man, I keep doing all those mundane tasks, and I even enjoy the beautiful world and amazing locomotion. All in all, I think Spider-Man does not break any new ground like a God of War or Breath of the Wild did, but it does rule the old grounds, and that's just fine. I've kind of had that sensation too of like I'm not the biggest open world guy. It's like it feels like a gamey ass game at times, but that's fine.
It's definitely in the upper echelon of open world games because both the way you traverse and the combat are so much fun that any side mission in there is going to be fun to do.
Right. I think the side missions are sort of very basic, but I think as a sort of a way to keep you exploring that city, I think they work well enough. I wish a lot of the side missions were better. I think a lot of those stories I don't think really go anywhere interesting.
Do you like chasing the birds?
I don't. But
I
I think I
dislike
haven't
the
done
birds,
it too much.
yeah.
I've only done it once, and I kind of had a frustrating moment. But otherwise, I think like finding the backpacks, doing a lot of those towers. I think those are simple enough.
Yeah.
That it's just like the main crux of those side missions is not what you do when you get there. It's getting to them and being able to say, all right, there it is. I'm going to traverse over there, and that was the fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had that weird vibe of, okay, I'm trying to get through the main story because I'm right up to the wire for the game club here. I definitely want to dive into more side stuff later on, but it's like, okay, the map's filled with like the locations I have to take pictures of. I haven't even gotten, all the communications towers, all that stuff. And then it just keeps layering on more and more. And that map screen is filling up more and more. Like the black cat. It was like, okay, here's some more stuff to do around the side. And now here's all the hairy stuff. Like, okay, this map is really getting crowded to the point that it's freaking me out a little bit.
I kind of liked getting the backpacks and hearing his like, oh, here's this bill I forgot to pay 10 years ago. Or like, here's this thing from my first date or whatever with Mary Jane. And I like taking the photos of the stuff. But I think they should have left it at that. Like anything beyond that just feels like it's like cluttering things up a little bit too much.
But then at the same time, so many people would complain that there's nothing to do in the open world. I feel like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation.
Maybe it's just the way it, like the black cat stuff. What do you guys think of that? Like I don't think
Very
that's
simple.
I haven't done any.
particularly interesting.
What is it?
I haven't done any.
Okay, you just have to scan the environment and try to find this little cat doll that the black cat left.
But the controller rumbles when you're like in the vicinity of it, and then you can see that something is glinting, and then you just zoom in. And take the picture.
So I guess I accidentally did that in one to like trigger it overall.
Feels like they're missing something to make it an interesting mini game.
I do like the Harry's stations a lot.
Really?
Those are some of my favorite stuff in the game.
I did the one that I think you have to do where you have to like swing through the clouds, but what are the other ones like?
There's one where you have like this weird technology where you turn invisible, and you can only activate it. When you activate it, you can't web swing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically there are these things like floating in the air. You have to activate it near, but you can't be swinging. So you have to like launch yourself up in the air and then time it so you go invisible and go through that area.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And then you have to re-engage and then you can swing again. And it's just like weird ways of using the swinging like that that I think is really smart to do.
It's
in a
weird
swinging game.
open world swinging missions, and they vary. There's some that I really hated, and there's some that are like, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So this is a weird mix.
Some are better than others, but it's cool that they're so
Like,
varied.
There's one where you have to like spray fish in the water, which is maybe the worst mission in the game.
I haven't done that one.
Spray fish. It is weird to see Spider-Man swim, by the way. But yeah.
You basically have to swing over water, and there's nothing to swing on when you're over water.
Yeah.
But you have to find pools of fish, and then you have to like spray this like chemical foam over them.
Huh. Okay. Sure.
Look forward to that one.
All right, why not? Well, I feel like you also, you guys are all saints, by the way, for stopping at the game club things. You guys are in the dark about what happens in the future. But have you guys just been doing all the side missions then? Just waiting for the next act to start?
I was also like you under the wire just because I didn't even start until Sunday because Kyle told me that the first act was only 2 to 3 hours long.
That's what everyone said. It's so much longer than that.
Yeah, it's way longer than 2 to 3 hours. So I just said, I'll just do it on a Sunday, knock it out real quick, and then go do side stuff. And then like it took me most of the day to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're up till 4 in the morning.
That's right.
Grinding away. But you guys have done a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've done 100% up to the end of Act 3. So everything
Really?
you can do up to this point, I've done.
Wait, Act 2.
Sorry, Act 1.
1.
Well,
Okay.
at the beginning of Act 2.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's like a lot of side stuff that you haven't even unlocked yet at this point, so I haven't done any of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've never gotten a challenge token. And
Right,
I have
I
tons
don't
of
know
things
what
I can
challenge
buy
tokens are.
with challenge
Yeah.
tokens.
Oh, funny. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Where the backpacks, I think they're interesting. I love the little details in there. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to get into the lore, but just the dumb little things like, hey, here's a spider plushie. And then one of my favorite little bits was Spider-Man just saying, oh, yeah, they wanted to license out my likeness for spider plushies, but I couldn't get any money off of that license because I'd have to reveal my identity. Or it's like, I've never thought of that.
I've
That's
spent
so
an
crazy.
inordinate amount of time just swinging around the city thinking about like I bet if they like set up some sort of like anonymous way to pay me under the I
Somebody
actually
would
thought
be able
about
to
that
figure it
for
out.
way longer than I probably should have.
Patreon.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, actually, Mike from Rochester, New York says, hey, Ben and crew, fellow Spider Nuts. Loving the new game. I'm going to waste my email by making a joke and saying that Spider-Man should just start a Patreon page. Spidey saved my cat. Here's a $5.
That's that is 100% what they should do in the sequel.
Different tiers. I'll save your
Yeah.
cat. I'll save your daughter. I'll save you.
I'll release you from my prison.
Several tiers of spider insurance where it's like you can buy in and you pay a monthly fee, and if something bad happens to you, Spider-Man will save you.
You have to show your card when he swings by.
There's got to be some way for him to, being as moral as he wants to be, get some cash for these abilities.
Yeah, that would solve all of his problems.
Oh,
He'd
there's
just
gotta be,
superhero
yeah.
full time.
Is he ever wealthy in the comics at any point? Does he ever make some sick cash off this thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
there's
really?
yeah, because he started his own like industry for a while. He had like Parker Industries, and so he became like a rich Tony Stark type person.
Oh, okay. He should just do that.
Well, and then he lost it all. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What are you going to do with Spider-Man?
Who can say?
Graham from London, that's in the United Kingdom
Ooh.
for now. He says, hello, Game Informer.
Lugs it.
Weird.
I've played about 15 hours, and while clearly a very high quality production, perhaps I let hype get the best of me this time. I'm still enjoying it, but my main complaint is to do with story versus gameplay. While ambitious and interesting, key dramatic ideas feel at odds with gameplay. For example, my girlfriend and I agree that opening with the fall of Kingpin is an exciting idea, but despite being seasoned video game players, we both died multiple times during this tutorial stage on the normal difficulty. Do you guys have a tough time with that fight too?
The Kingpin one specifically? Yeah, I did.
too. I'm dying a lot in this game.
I think it was
surprisingly
because
hard.
It was the first time you're really challenged with the combat mechanics, and you're still kind of learning the ropes. So I would be interested in going back now and seeing if I was still as bad at it. I think I would do pretty good.
Right. Although Danielle Alejandro Hernandez Gomez writes in and said that the game is too easy overall. He's playing on the amazing difficulty. So
There are
who knows?
different difficulties. So
That's true.
yeah, I think there's a lot. I felt really clumsy, and I think that one of the reasons is because everything does more damage than I expected it to. So I think I think one of the expectations is like, oh, you're here to be cool. You're here to have fun. I wasn't sort of expecting like you have to take this gameplay seriously. You can't like sort of like it's not as mashy as like. Well, I mean, it's like, press square and then press triangle and then like dodge out of the way. But
I think even like it's not as mashy as the Arkham games, which is maybe what I was expecting, where you can kind of get into a flow and not really worry too much about it.
I think, and at first I was like, oh, this is really, I don't know if I'm going to, like I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like a whole game of this. But I think over time, as more options are introduced to combat, I think I ended up liking the combo system more and how sort of like, all right, I want this guy like, here's a shield guy. I've knocked him into the air. I need to take them down like immediately, and sort of like the urgency that places on combat, I think actually ends up being a plus in its favor so far. But yes, definitely early on, I struggled a lot with like the different combo options and like, okay, here's how you take out this enemy. Here's sort of the counter.
And I know that it pushes you hard for like stay in the air. If you're on the ground, you're losing. Even they're like, I hope I don't get thrown up in the air. They have some sort of VO bar to let you know that like, hey, that's really what you need to get them. But that
I'm really weak in the air. Oxygen's bad for my skin.
It's so stupid and simplistic, but it was like learning not to just play it like an Arkham game. Otherwise, you just end up dodging and flipping all over the place, and you feel like,
and it's less fun.
Yeah, and you feel like Sonic and Smash Brothers were like, I'm hitting them a lot, but I'm not taking anybody out. I don't know what I'm doing here.
The other thing that I don't like about the game is, or the combat in general, is that the dodge doesn't feel as useful until you figure out that you can dodge and then jump, and that's like an extra long dodge.
Okay.
But initially, I feel like that initial dodge doesn't, like, I felt like it should have a longer distance on it than it did, so I would dodge and still get hit a lot of the times.
Oh, interesting.
But then once I learned like you can dodge and then press X to jump, I thought that was really cool.
There's an upgrade too. I think it's an upgrade where you, if you dodge at the right time, you like web the guy who's attacking you, which I think is a really valuable.
Yeah, I learned that one. That was one of the first things I unlocked. The other thing that I find weird about the combat is just like how long you can keep those guys in the air. Like that, it is a Marvel versus Capcom-esque duration of just like, all right, 3 hits in the air, I hold square and swing at them again, and so now I have another 3-hit combo I can land, and then I can throw them into the other guy.
Right.
Like, it is outlandish how long you can keep those guys suspended in the air.
Have you guys embraced the gadgets as well?
Yeah, I don't think I've been using it as much as I should. It is a reminder too of like, oh yeah, I have that little spider drone. I haven't used that in combat yet. Little reminders that
Impact
I have that
webbing is really cool.
That's my
favorite.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which one?
Impact webbing. It's like you hit a guy, and if it's a smaller dude, less powerful guy, he'll like get webbed to the wall immediately. So it's a good
He'll
way to
fly
take
way
out,
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can upgrade it too, where I think you'd take out multiple guys.
I only just started using the gadgets when they give you the one that is basically a grenade. And that was like immediately after I was like, man, I could use some AoE options.
Yeah,
and then immediately they give me a grenade. And
Aziz writes in on that front and says, it's such a small thing, but I love using that web bomb against a large group of thugs. Seeing half of them being helplessly stuck to walls makes me laugh every single time.
And so the other thing I had with combat was that I just had the button scheme seemed very counterintuitive to me at first, because it was like, all right, you're pressing square and like I feel like I should be zipping around when it's like, oh, triangle does this, but like I felt like it should be R1. That was sort of my biggest thing, is I kept mashing R1 instead of triangle to like.
How many times do I have to press this before the button changes?
Yeah, and it didn't. So that was part of my sort of early struggles to figure. Like the button scheme seems really strange, but it once you get used to it, it works.
Yeah, Jerry from Gilbert is kind of echoing some thoughts here. Just curious how long it took you all to get a feel or a flow for combat. Early on, I found myself just using the dodge button, being used to Arkham, and ignoring the object, throw, web pull, other mobility options from Spider-Man. Once I got a feel for it, though, it became so much fun. Yeah, especially like the dodge off the wall, and then you attack off the wall. I feel like I need to be doing that more in particular. I don't know if you guys are doing a lot of that stuff.
Haven't done that one a lot just because, a lot. I haven't been near walls as much as I maybe should have.
Oh, really?
He's a wall crawler.
Yeah.
That's true.
I feel like
Not a lot of wall crawling, though. Like, it feels like you're always running up. You don't get to be like the iconic, like, I'm going to crawl up the wall very slowly.
your
You're
way,
always
dude.
that's up to you, man. You can crawl if you
Yeah,
want.
the point where it's
I would
kinda-
love to take this wall slowly as opposed to running up it like an prototype.
I do get a real kick out of just like seeing if I have an objective marker far in the distance, or like I'm walking, and then just like slowly walking down the street, and it's so uncanny, like watching that, realizing like, wait, is Spider-Man kind of a dumb character? Does that suit look stupid? It looks awesome when you're swinging around, but just like slowly marching down the street, it's like, hey, this might be stupid.
You
after
get
all.
self-conscious when everybody
Yeah.
gets
It really
But
is.
you can point finger guns at anybody as you're walking down the street.
What is the button? I haven't done that
Square.
yet.
I think it's
just
square.
instead of
Just to
punching.
interact with them
Yeah, if it's
overall?
not in combat, he'll just do that all the time.
There's an achievement for like doing it to 10 just pedestrians.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pretty easy one to do. I had that same feeling too when I did the fast travel and you see him in the subway and you're
Yeah.
like, this is weird. And it's funny. I like it that they went that way, but it's also like this. If you saw that in real life, you'd be like, this is kind of stupid, right?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's a superhero.
Yeah.
But I love everybody shouting at him all the time. Like, they all want him to do different things. Everyone's very demanding, where it's like, yeah, I could see that. It's the equivalent of, celebrities and being harassed about selfies and stuff. People are like, hey, shoot a web, buddy. It's like, okay.
It's
all right,
basically
buddy.
that scene from Homecoming where the guy,
is.
he's like,
Do a
hey,
flip.
Spider Guy. Yeah, and he's, do a flip.
Yeah, it's the
And he
best
goes,
part of
yeah,
Homecoming.
when he
It's
does it.
amazing.
I like that there was one guy who was like, who didn't like me and was like, we don't need your kind around here. And I just passive aggressively said, hello, sir.
That's so much fun. John says, hello, folks. Spider-Man, hey, guys? Well, see you later. That's not true. He says, seriously, though, it's hard to nail down just one thing to talk about in the game. What keeps coming back to my mind, though, is the city and world and the interactions within it. I made it a point to get down to a street level early on to hang out with Spidey's adoring and even not so adoring public. Almost right away, a guy approached me with a prompt over his head, and after double high-fiving him, he yelled, how can you not love this guy? A few blocks away, I found some people who will happily pose for a group selfie. It feels great to stop a robbery and turn around to see a group of appreciative New Yorkers cheering over Spidey's most recent victory. So there's mine. I'm looking forward to part 2. Keep on swinging. You bet, man. Here's a thought, Reeves. This is I'm not a features editor at Game Informer, but you need to write this feature. I want to know the history of civilians, pedestrians, and open world games using their cell phones. Like, what was the first game to incorporate that? Because I love seeing it, and it rings very true, but it's like a default in open world modern games now, just to have like, mindlessly looking at your phone. Like, what year do you think that was?
I think Grand Theft Auto 4 was maybe one of the first ones.
Did 4?
I think
Yeah,
4 had
four,
cell
like, that
phones,
was your
yeah.
whole menu
That was the
that
big
you used
thing.
to
Well,
D-pad.
you had it, but
Right.
did pedestrians as
I
well?
think
They would walk
pedestrians
down
had
on
them,
the
yeah.
street on phone calls and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. But like just checking stuff, not on the phone?
That was probably the evolution, though. There's probably like a
Yeah.
lot of pedestrians on cell phones.
Right.
And then it morphed to they're just looking at it.
Right. It's morphin' time. All right. Well, that feature is basically as good as done. If anybody wants to
transcribe,
transcribe,
yeah.
just
Yeah,
what
we're
happened.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, some more combat stuff to mop up. Ben B says, I'm not someone who considers myself very good at challenging games. I mostly play it on easy mode because I see gaming as an escape from stress. But imagine my surprise when I boot up Spider-Man and die at least 3 times during the opening fight against Fisk on friendly mode. Pretty demoralizing. That said, whereas I started out dreading every combat situation, I was amazed how fluid the combat becomes once you've been given the freedom to experiment and practice for a few hours. Absolutely. The game definitely rewards you for mastering the dodge button, but being that combat can get out of hand just after 1 or 2 hits, do you think the game should have eased players into combat a little bit more slowly?
I started on normal and I was dying a lot, and I said, I'm not interested in seeing Spider-Man die. That's not why I'm playing this game.
Yeah, you want the power
You started
fantasy.
crying the first time you died.
Yeah, I thought he was really dead.
I said, never again.
Spider-Man, talk to me.
But I switched to easy. I couldn't tell a difference, honestly. Easy,
Really?
I feel like easy mode could be, and maybe should be, a lot easier.
I completely agree. I'm playing on easy, and it's like I'm still dying a shocking degree, and I'm not the worst at games. Like there should be a super baby mode easy for people who want
Kid
the
mode.
Spider-Man experience. Yeah.
The one time I think my biggest struggle so far has been the shocker fight because he has a prompt where it's like, I'm going to do this big sort of AoE attack, and you get the dodge prompt, but the dodge isn't the thing that's going to get you out of it. You sort of have to, what I ended up doing is jumping and then zipping immediately. But then that's like, the game trains you so hard to say, like, anytime you see that indicator, press circle, and that's like the one time that doesn't actually, that's not the way you get out of that attack.
Okay.
Other than that, I feel like once I got through the Fisk fight, I've been doing okay. But yeah, even in random encounters, sometimes like you get hit with like a gun and you're like, oh man, this does way more damage. than
I was
thought it
chasing
did.
after a demon truck, just swinging down the street, getting closer, and they shot me to death out of the sky.
That shouldn't happen.
Oh no, Spider-Man!
Yeah.
Oh, good, we shot him to death.
Hey, with the shocker fight, I love that he calls him Herman so much, and I love that he calls Fisk Willie. Is that just a very agreed upon staple of Spider-Man? Is he always calls the villains by their first name or anything?
I don't know if I'd say always, but yeah, it happens.
Hey, Green.
Mr. G.
Hey, Gobby.
Yeah, on the groups of enemies front, Adam Poole says, though I'm really enjoying the game so far, it does have some flaws. For one thing, I think it's too easy to get overwhelmed by groups of enemies, resulting in death, which I experienced more than I assumed I would. Another big issue I've had is that even if you successfully dodge an attack, you might still get hit by the enemies, especially the big guys that can hit multiple times really fast. Yeah, those big guys suck.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're basically harder than Fisk, and it's just like some big fat guy in New York or like in Central Park that's just annihilating me.
You just gotta web them up.
That
Yeah.
is the reason I started using the sort of like dodge and then hop, is because dodging out of the way of those guys is you're gonna get hit, and they have like a 3-hit combo basically. So if you're like do the thing that you're told to do, which is dodge, you're just gonna get mauled basically.
Right.
And
right.
you have to play against those guys very differently. Yeah. And then that's when I started using the impact web a little more.
I think Impact Web will sometimes like web them up to the point where you can punch them a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guys I've had more trouble with, I think, are the guys with the energy whips. Have you guys run into those guys much?
Like the
don't think
batons
so.
or
Whips?
They are demons who have like energy whips.
Oh, I don't think so.
no, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't
really?
seen those guys.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
Okay. Huh. How'd you beat him?
With my fists.
Yeah, Spidey,
Yeah.
you're doing it, buddy. Flap, flap, flap. The only problem, Paul Arias, he says here, is the only problem I have with the Fisk Hideouts and the QuickTime event with the helicopter. I had to run that about 4 times before I was able to get all the timing correct. As for the hideouts, I try to do all the stealth takedowns, but the game doesn't even make that possible. For as soon as you get all the enemies in Phase 1, Phase 2 starts with everyone knowing you're there. How? Why? There are no alarms. No one saw me. How did they know I was there?
They've all got psychic vision, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bothered
Friends
me
are-
for a couple times. I did a couple of hideouts before I realized like you just can't do it stealth. Like after the first round,
okay.
you
Yeah.
just fight.
Stealth is your opener, not sort of how you do the
It
entire
just feels
encounter
like
most
that
of the time.
first round is so easy, like combat wise. There's no like benefit to doing it stealthy.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer because I like stealth in games generally, and like the stealth as Spider-Man could be kind of cool, but feels like they haven't fleshed it out enough.
There's that
Yeah.
one segment, like I think right after the Mary Jane segment or before, where I think it worked there, but I think in terms of like in the general open city, I don't think it works really
Right.
well.
There's no incentive to do it. I love stealth is one of my favorite genres of
Sure.
games,
Stealth
and
boy.
there's just I just rarely do stealth in this game because there's no benefit.
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer.
What did you guys think about the Mary Jane stuff?
It's okay. Like I feel like if you're gonna implement Mary Jane in a game, that's kind of how you have to do it, because it's not like she's gonna like get a gun and it turns into a first-person shooter.
Oh, that would
But-
be
Like
surprising.
Blacklist.
Yeah, but I could easily do without those segments and just have those be cutscenes. Like I didn't really get much.
Well,
out
that's
of that
actually
one.
interesting. James from Idaho Falls, it's a Mormon community, so everyone thinks it's God's country. That's nice. Said, could the extra playable characters' roles have been done in cutscenes just as easily? Personally, if I'm playing a superhero game, I don't want to be pulled out of the role of Spider-Man for some clunky stealth. Kyle has classically said he doesn't like playing multiple characters like in GTA 5, but mentioned that these were quick and not too intrusive. Yeah, you know.
They seem to really want to have puzzles in this game,
Yes.
Yeah.
which the Mary Jane sequences promote, and I'm not sold on why they're
Like that
there yet.
statue
Yeah.
puzzles. Like this is like a Resident Evil style puzzle.
Yeah.
It feels so odd.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the part where she was walking around looking at things and like taking photos,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
but the stealth parts are so like rigid and like they're one path. You just wait until the guy turns around.
Yeah.
I would say they're bad stealth scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is just, I think I don't know. It kind of conveys maybe a lack of confidence in like, I'd be fine looking around at stuff as Mary Jane. I don't need
Yeah.
some gameplay hook for those
Yeah,
sequences.
totally.
Just make them more of a little walking simulator.
When you're
Totally
looking
down
around
for
at that museum, that's totally more fun than it would be in a cutscene.
Right.
That
Oh, yeah.
definitely is benefited.
I think it's kind of cool that they're not just cutscenes, that there's something more going on, but the stealth implementation is not there.
It's
Yeah.
not the appeal. And it speaks, I think, to a lot of things in this game where even the radio towers or a lot of the things when it has the mini games where it's like, how much more am I really getting out of it for having to line up these waves?
The
rather
exact
than
thing
just
you do in
holding
Arkham
down-
too. Yeah.
Yeah, just hold down square. Like I'm not feeling this
Right.
puzzle more this way or
Right.
anything like that.
And before listeners pointed out, there is an option to skip all the puzzles in the game.
Yes.
And where is
But
that option?
That's when you start a file. I think it tells you like, do you want to?
you can do it later in accessibility.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
You can skip that, and you can skip all the Q2Es, which is what I did.
Actually, yeah. So we have Brent from Capitola, California saying, not super far into the game just yet, but I thought I'd write in with how deeply appreciative I am of Insomniac's work with Spider-Man's impressive array of accessibility options. Being able to skip puzzles is a huge boon for me, and I know multiple people who dislike QuickTime events due to slower reaction times love they can simply turn them off. This, in addition to smaller but possibly even more helpful options like being able to hold a button instead of rapidly mashing it, are similar to God of War earlier this year, and they make it great. And Joe Halaska says, also appreciating the accessibility options and saying that he really appreciates the lack of difficulty-related trophies in the game.
Okay, so if there... I don't know if there are trophies for having that stuff on, but I hope they don't, because that would be a really kind of like weird incentive thing.
I don't think they do.
But yeah, because I'm kind of thinking about turning off the puzzles. I turned off the QTEs, and I'm a little torn on it because it just shows like they don't skip those scenes. It just sort of turns into slow-mo for a second, which is weird. So it'll just be like, I'm about to jump, and then like slow motion for like a second, and then it continues. I feel like those could have been cut out a little more seamlessly, but I'm totally fine with not having those in the game. But yeah, I think I might skip puzzles if there's no incentive to have them on, because I'm not like, great, I solved this, conductor puzzle thing, and I feel super good about myself now.
I wonder what happens if you go back to Otto's lab and go do the puzzles. Can you just press X and then it's complete?
Hey, Otto, look at this. Give me a raise here, buddy.
Hey, brilliant.
Tyler from Greenwood, Indiana says this game is crazy good. I pretty much love everything about it, especially the odd little mini games that you do in Octavius' lab. What do you guys think about the lab mini games? We love them. We love them. They're great.
I love how optional they are.
Well, I love that they're optional too, but actually, like, for all the like fluff that is in this game, I actually kind of like those mini games.
Okay.
The like pipe. They basically feel like BioShock pipe puzzles.
Right.
But
then there's also a
little bit
layer
more
of
complex.
math beyond that of like the plus and minus. Yeah.
I don't know. I was good at math in 5th grade.
Your pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
Ego +5.
So I like these puzzles.
Okay. What about, I guess for me, the biggest surprise playing it so far was Doc Ock being in there so early and so present. I'd imagine they kept it under wraps. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
Even when you're
really like
swinging
his
to him, it
character.
just says like boss. Like they're still trying to hide it until you see him.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, he references him, I think, as Doc at some point before you see him. And it's like,
Doc!
okay, I only know one Doc in Spider-Man, and I like him.
Yeah,
Dr.
Brown.
Strange.
Well, I thought it was going to be Dr. Kirk Connors, actually, who's the lizard.
Oh, of course.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great call for sure.
I think he's like they do a really good job of painting him as like as a helpful friend to Peter. I am super concerned. I don't know if they're going to do it in this game or if it just ends up happening later, but I'm super concerned about his turn to villain. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off because it feels like it would be such an enormous turn for that character.
Well, it seems like where they're building now is for him to use his abilities against Green Goblin, right?
Right.
Or whatever that's going to be. And then it's like the twist of then he also has to go up against Peter because Peter will probably try and stop him. Leo, you're squinting at me.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great.
If he ends up being like
But it's
hero,
like that, hey, F you, Osborn, I don't want to go work for you. You're shutting down my lab. Like, that's his motivation, I think, too.
right. But like last we left off, he was pretty happy with it, but I'm sure there's going to be some like, oh, now they're trying to
Maybe.
steal my tech or whatever for making guns or whatever. But I'd actually think it'd be way cooler if they kind of turned that canon on its head and it's like Octavius is like the co-op buddy in Spider-Man 2 or something.
Yes.
Like, if they
Oh,
turned him
man,
into a
that'd be
hero,
interesting.
I think that'd be super cool.
I would love that.
Right.
And that'd be a good arc for eventually maybe turning into a villain. If they had him be a hero first, that would be super.
Yeah.
into that.
I think one of the weakest moments so far, unless I'm not reading into it enough, is that moment where Spider-Man's working on the suit in his lab, and then Doc Ock comes in. He's like, "What you got there?" Nothing. Classic Spider-Man stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I see what's happening here. You make the suits for Spider-Man." It's like,
You're
okay.
like,
Yeah.
Do you think he knows what he's doing though? Like he knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. He's just trying to like cushion it.
I've
feel like
thought
that's
about
what
that.
it
is. Is that what it
actually.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of wonder if that's it. I
Yeah.
think that would make more sense than him than that goofy assumption.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you make the suits. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that he has some of the best writing, and I think the other moment that kind of surprised me in terms of writing was one of the last moments we see where Peter and Miles meet.
Yeah.
And like you expected like for them to have a normal conversation, but like Miles kind of
hostile.
it's a little hostile just because like Miles is kind of in a dark place at that point, and Peter's trying to be like, oh, I know how you like, no, you don't.
Yeah, and it's tough because like Peter can't say why he has this connection to his dad and all this stuff. So from Miles' point of view, it's like, who's this random asshole like trying to talk to me and console me in some way?
It's a good interaction.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I just assumed I went back to like the Uncle Ben stuff. I was assumed like, oh, I know how you feel because I lost a father figure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, yeah. I think my little favorite bit of writing is like the MJ stuff. I think is cuter than I was expecting, and I also like how much of a mystery it is. Of like they're teasing of like why exactly they broke up. You don't exactly know how everything played out there, but just like little moment there where MJ's like, hey, I don't know about this, Peter. Like, there's a lot of baggage here, and he's like, baggage can carry good things like lip balm, and he's like listing all the things. Like, that's a cute little line. Yeah. On the Otto front, Hazel Muhammad, friend of the show from Tampa, Florida, says, I enjoy that Insomniac decided to go with an ultimate Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Mary Jane, since I appreciated their banter and the fact that there's history there already. Made the relationship more believable and made me invested in seeing the plot unfurl. Hey, that was my argument, Hazel. As did Martin Lee and Otto Octavius. I'm not too familiar with Lee other than what I've read in Dan Slott's comic run, but he came off as a sympathetic character, even when the end of Act 1 comes rushing up at you. You can see he's conflicted when he calls off his men at the end, but his ties to Norman Osborn seem to be the key factor that ultimately pushes him over the edge from his feast persona. Also, it can't be a coincidence that Otto also has ties to Osborn. I wouldn't be surprised if Lee's and Octavius' plots come together eventually later in the game. Now let's talk about the end of Act 1. Given that was New York City, I did not expect to see what amounted to a terrorist attack given the anniversary of 9/11 is coming up soon. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Regardless, I felt uncomfortable when the debris settled and the camera smashes to black on Miles' face. But Miles, Peter, and Mary Jane have a reason to be in each other's orbit, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out, especially if Insomniac decides to play Miles as his ultimate incarnation as well. And here are some random thoughts from Hazel, if you're ready. I'm glad my OCD has me collect everything in sight, since one of the backpack collectibles actually explains why Peter has the funds to afford placing all his backpacks all over the city. It was an award from Wilson Fisk, apparently. I also appreciate that the collectibles filled in the blank that J. Jonah Jameson is no longer working at the Daily Bugle. When his podcast popped up, I kept on wondering how he had time to do that while also running a newspaper. Makes you wonder what happened, that he had to leave the Bugle. Maybe in the sequel? The Stan Lee cameo was the best cameo since it confirms MJ and Peter are the best couple in the Spider-Man mythos. What do you guys think of the Stan Lee cameo?
I was kind of wondering when it would come, actually.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it until last week on the podcast in that rapid fire thing that somebody emailed in. Reiner was kind of cagey about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess they would do that at some point. He was in the Lego games, for Christ's sake.
He was in, he was digitized into something else too, wasn't it?
Destiny 2.
Yeah, he was in Destiny 2. I think he was.
He and Paul McCartney did a whole thing. I actually was kind of wondering, like, because he's the owner of the Italian restaurant. I thought, wait, is Stanley Italian?
I don't know. I thought his face looked really good, but that was the jarring part too. It was just a close-up. So I was like, is he a janitor? Like, what is his role here? Just get a wide shot so I can see a uniform of some sort.
Because it's a MODOK style.
I think he was behind.
So
I think that shot shows him behind the register. So
I just missed it?
He does work or own that place.
Yeah.
Okay, he does something there.
I was playing that game. My wife was in the room when I was playing it, and she was like, "What? He can't be in this!" Like,
gave that game the finger.
He's a real person.
She attacked the screen.
Yeah, so
he actually does kind of stand out.
Oh, of course, he always does.
Because I don't know that I like the way Peter looks. I think
I am with you.
Weird. Yeah,
absolutely. Weird. Like the first instance in that opening cutscene was like, wait, is Peter kind of funky looking?
I think it's his hair.
It is something about his hair and his eyes. Whereas somebody wrote in saying that MJ looked gross. I was like, MJ looks fine to me.
MJ looks way better than Peter does.
Yeah,
she looks a little like the Mass Effect Andromeda woman.
Oh, Mrs. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the writer, lady writer.
I think Martin Lee looks like super good. I think he's probably my favorite, like in terms of like, oh wow, you really did a good job of capturing this guy's face.
Something with Peter's face though, and the hair in particular, maybe pushing it over the edge.
I just wish it was Tom Holland.
Oh, that could be. On that Mr. Lee front.
I thought of, I think it was Big Hero 6 that Stan Lee was also in.
Oh, yes, you're right. He's the voice at the end, all that stuff. Hey, Ben, says Taylor from Houston, Texas, and the crew. I love Spider-Man so far, but my largest issue with the game is that it spoiled Mr. Lee as Mr. Negative in their ad campaign for the game. I think it would have been a much better surprise had they not ruined that fact. That is true, even though they changed the scene, because normally he was in the helicopter, right? And like he flew through, but Mr. Lee wasn't in the helicopter this time.
Yeah,
right.
He was just actually at like the bombing scene.
I thought about that
for the first time.
During that scene. I was like, man, this scene is really cool, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And it's like, I've seen this a couple times, and so it feels a little diminished because of that.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, man, it'd be really nice to go in not knowing that. Like, not having seen some of the big moments in this game.
Well, what is the deal with Mr. Negative? Like, how popular is he?
He's a more recent character. He's pretty popular considering the fact that he was created pretty recently. I think, man, somebody probably read in, but I think Dan Slott actually created him. So, like, he's that recent.
I love that. I think he's a smart addition because I don't know anything about his powers or what he's capable of or what his past in. There was like, past his was like that slight hint about talking about how he had a tough childhood. And so I don't know if he's like a duality figure and he is actually good, or if that was just all BS at the feast. I don't know what that is.
Do you think he remains the main protagonist? I mean, antagonist?
That's a good question.
Or both?
Wink, wink. I would hope so. I'd imagine. I would think so. I'll say yes. I will imagine him, and then also Doc Ock rising up, and that'll kind of be the big finale.
The weird thing is I can't imagine they're going to go for Green Goblin in this universe, because Norman just looks way like that particular version of the character looks like, I don't think he'd be good in a suit. Like, I don't know that he could actually
if
fight.
He's more mechanical, maybe though.
Yeah.
I think, knowing nothing, and again, we're only a couple hours into this game realistically, the fact that they teased Harry in such a big way, like he'll be coming home next year. It's like, I'm sure they're saving all the Goblin stuff for the sequel.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is like we're this far into the game and we haven't seen that many like big superhero fights. We've seen the Shocker.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Well,
I guess
Mr. Negative.
I guess Kingpin, yeah, too. But like, so every time a person pops up, I'm like, oh, I want to see him. I want to see Osborn fight as Green Goblin. Or I want to see like Dr. Octopus. I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah.
So
here's my theory that I just came up with. Is
why?
that maybe Norman Osborn fights using Dr. Octopus's tech, and Dr. Octopus remains a scientist, and so that's how, like, like I'm gonna become the supervillain. I'm gonna make the Green Goblin, and it's gonna be like sort of different mechanically, not just
That'd
a guy
be
on a
cool.
collider.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Prove me wrong, internet.
At some point, Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man as well in the comics, right, Reeves? Isn't there some weird stuff like that?
It's called Superior. He actually like takes over Peter Parker's body. This is how dumb comic books are. He like takes over his
Unless
mind.
you watch the video and then they're great. Yeah.
I mean, they're amazing. Obviously, that's why I read
Spectacular,
them.
yeah.
And so he calls himself the Superior Spider-Man. And so he like
That's super good.
He's willing to do. He has all of Spider-Man's powers, obviously, because he's in his body. But he's willing to like do things that Peter wouldn't, like be more ruthless.
So more of whatever a spider can.
Yeah, he's basically like, I'm gonna be you, but I'm gonna be you better than you ever were.
Right. That's a fun idea. Do that in the game. Wyatt writes in, says, I'm surprised there's only been 2 boss fights in the first act so far, but he says that the pacing's really great, so he doesn't really mind. And he says, which villain are you most excited to fight with? Personally, I want to see how they handle a fight with Scorpion. Do you have any villains that you hope to see that haven't been revealed yet? I'd love to see Mysterio in the game. I would too. I'd be surprised if they squeeze that in.
I'd like to see Venom and Carnage.
I'd love to see. It'd be fun if they just throw in a couple like D-string, like super villains, like Stiltman or like Captain Boomerang or something.
They tease Scorpion a little bit. I think he'd be cool. Like in one of the side missions. I think.
Really? I'd missed that.
No, I think one of the JJ conversations mentions the Scorpion.
Okay, yeah.
Well, but I mean, we know that he's in the game, don't we?
Isn't he in the prison? Isn't he in
he's
the
in the
raft
prison.
when they show all the pictures?
Yeah, I'm pretty
No.
sure. Yeah. They do tease Venom a little bit, which Dusty W wrote in saying, so far my favorite little moment is the offhand mention of the black and white suit. The cop asked Spider-Man if he has one for the police ball, and his reaction kind of hinted that he already has it, and he's already fought with Venom. I guess I didn't get that vibe. I thought it was just like a cheeky little joke, but I didn't get the vibe that Peter Parker was hinting that he already fought with Venom.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Is starting that character off so far into his career, it feels like... Okay, so I'm guessing he hasn't fought the Green Goblin, which seems weird to not have done it for 8 years against Norman.
Right.
The fact that Norman Osborn is the mayor obviously
I think
hints
that's
that
kinda cool, though,
it's
yeah.
not him.
Or
So
Doc Ock.
Yeah. I'm curious as to which of the bad guys he's fought up until this point. Which I
Yeah.
think one of them might have been the Vulture, because I think there's a mural at some point
That's
in
in the
city.
beginning.
I assume that the people who are in the raft got put there by him.
And there's like the rhino's horn and stuff. Yeah,
That's
so he
true.
made some reference like, oh, this guy, my back still hurts thinking about fighting him.
He charged into the wall like Fisk.
That
That's
Fisk
a good
boss
idea. I
fight,
should keep doing that.
yeah, that Fisk boss fight was fine. It was not as maybe amazing as
I hope they don't repeat it like Arkham did.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
thing is like the Shocker boss fight. The Shocker isn't like considered like one of his best villains or anything, but like
Yeah.
that fight was really cool. So
Oh,
I
you
wanna
like that
see-
one?
I thought it was cool looking.
Okay, someone hated chasing him down.
I loved chasing him down.
Oh, really?
That was one of my favorite missions. I thought the way it you were using the swinging to get after him, and then you got close enough, and it went seamlessly to cutscene, and then you popped right back out.
Yeah.
No matter where you tagged him in,
Yeah.
I thought
think
that was really well done.
He was a really well done chase mission. I think the rest of those chase missions aren't as good.
I kind
Those
of like it.
pigeons
Just,
are not as cool as Shocker.
I haven't done the pigeon stuff yet, but I do like the idea of I am just swinging around that city so much. I love focusing on speed every once in a while. Of like, okay, I'm normally not just trying to go as fast as possible, but I like the idea of like really trying to push myself and get caught up with them.
Yeah, me too.
This might have been a random joke. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But at some point on the podcast, J. Jonah Jameson mentions, like, he's listing off all of the villains that came about because of Spider-Man. And he's like, there's a Nazi made of bees. Is that a real villain or is that just a random joke?
He was thinking of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He was
I just
hardly
played
a
this
Nazi.
game, and who's the boss?
And I blame Spider-Man for Metal Gear Solid 3. Is that a thing?
That's not a thing that I'm aware of, but yes.
Okay.
Maybe somebody should
And you're
write it
saying
in the
that under
podcast.
oath.
I'm saying Spider-Man is named David.
Well, clearly you haven't heard of the Not-Be.
Yeah, not to be.
That's very good.
You should write comics, Suriel.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see. This is a twist for y'all. Josh from Mesa, Arizona writes in, says, Spider-Man has been spectacular so far. In fact, even amazing up to this point. Everyone's making those jokes.
But not
it's
spectacular.
good. I would definitely say it is the ultimate Spider-Man video game to date. There we go.
Well, there was Ultimate Spider-Man.
Of course, the web slinging in this game is excellent. My personal favorite part of the game, and I'm sure this will get covered extensively, so nothing really original to add. Okay. One moment I would really like to highlight, I really loved, is after Peter gets evicted from his apartment and asks Aunt May for help, I was completely expecting her to invite him back to his old room in her house, but instead, she sends him to her office to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
That moment really lit up my imagination. Why was her first thought to send Peter to her office instead of her house? Here are some theories.
I also thought that was weird, by the way.
Yep. She got sick and tired of her house, just randomly getting attacked by supervillains for no discernible reason. And after Peter left there was a sharp decline in such attacks, she's not risking taking him back. Or Aunt May knows how to party and Peter would cramp her style. I really hope this one's true and Peter accidentally crashes an Eyes Wide Shut party at Aunt May's house, even if the Sinister Six are present. Or she is in fact a supervillain herself and has converted Peter's old room into her sinister lair.
Or
Great
they didn't
theories.
want to model Aunt May's house.
Yes, I think it's much more that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, they got the feast ready to go there, so
Yeah,
let's
feast
just
is
bring
right
her over
there.
the couch.
That's a really interesting pick, though. I really hope something happens with that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We don't know for, like, I don't think Aunt May knows that Peter is Spider-Man, does she? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
But she is Spider-Woman.
It's very clear.
Also, another example of very good hair in this game. Like, one of the few rare examples of, like, her hair is actually pretty nice.
Rare hair. The that is actually my favorite part of the game so far. Is just Peter
Aunt May's hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Peter going home and like he has the eviction notice and he like uses his super strength to like blast open the door. And I know it's a cutscene, so it's not the most interesting thing, but I loved the fusion of him having these real world problems, but then just a little bit using his spider powers. Like he's just stuck in the bureaucracy of trying to get the number off of this garbage can while he's talking to Eddie at the warehouse. He's like, let me see where it is. And he's like flipping around, like kicking the trash can around just to see what the number is on the back and like trying to track that stuff down. I thought that was such a nice little quiet mission.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool too. There was part of me that was like, this garbage guy's being way too nice to him. Like,
Oh yeah.
part of me
He
was
does
like,
offer to buy him a pizza, so.
it's true.
Yeah, from Leo's.
That's right.
Ooh,
cute.
We'll see if something happens with that.
Leo's
in the second
canon
half.
now.
It's all
Wait,
good.
was Leo Stanley?
I think so.
I did the mocap.
Oh.
What's your guys' favorite part so far?
I like using the web shooters. The more I've used them in combat, the less I've been dying. And the way, now that I've gotten some upgrades and I have so many web shooter shots before they run out, and then it recharges so fast, I love just spraying everybody, swinging them around, doing the square triangle combo to throw them, just kick them right into a van.
Hell yeah.
And then by the time I'm done doing that, the web shooters are back. I think the way the webs work in the combat is perfectly done.
Yeah, I think once I got used to it, I think the combat ended up being like both sort of true to the character and kind of like compelling in its own way. Like once I started using some more of those gadgets, but I like that you can do tricks while you're swinging, and that it basically turns that game into this weirdo Tony Hawk kind of game where it's like, okay, I can probably do 3 tricks off this swing before I have to swing again.
Even
And
like
I think
NBA Street, I'm just like, there's no reason, but just keep doing
there was
it
also
as much
one
as
time
possible.
where I fell low enough to the ground. I did a trick and I ended up like landing on the ground but not changing my animation. So here's this animation of him sort of like falling across the street for like 3 seconds before I actually landed.
Paul Swears writes in on that topic a little bit. He says, when you're web swimming, I really love it when Spidey will sometimes catch himself off balance and mid-swing if he doesn't have a good hold on what you're stuck to with the web.
Oh,
There's
that's
just a
cool.
little like stumbling animation as he's trying to get it down, which I don't think I've noticed, but that's a cool idea if it's in there.
I don't think I'll ever get sick of just like using that impact webbing to like web a dude against a wall like instantly. That's so satisfying.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Let's see. Kevin Jennison of Lindstrom, Minnesota, and also Joe Williams both wrote in appreciating the feast sequence. And just anytime you're in there and talking about how it does a good job of representing homeless people without being cliched and over the top in any way. Which is like, yeah. Leo, you're wincing.
Yeah, that was good. The Dove stuff, the catching the pigeons, has felt a little cliche presentation of a homeless person.
Oh, I haven't seen
Kindly
this yet,
old homeless man on the rooftop. Oh, I lost my pigeons.
It's Home Alone 2.
Remind me of my wife. Yeah.
It starts out as a side mission, so you got to go do a side mission, and then it unlocks all the pigeons.
Gotcha. Jared says, hello, club. As a huge fan of Sunset Overdrive, I've spent many hours in the game just swinging from landmark to landmark and taking pictures because of how much fun I'm having with the movement system. One landmark in particular piqued my interest, however, the Avengers Tower. After taking a picture of the tower, Peter says something along the lines of, it's too bad the Avengers are never around. I think they're on the West Coast or something. I'm not very knowledgeable on Marvel comics, so hopefully someone's a little bit more comic book savvy can help me out. Is this line of dialogue a reference to a specific event in the Marvel Universe? Is it possible that it alludes to Square Enix Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics, which is on the West Coast?
Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what they're going for.
So actually, there's a comic called West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, but still, I really am sticking with my Crystal D theory. Oh, really?
Yeah. It was, somebody's gonna write in, I'm sure, but I think it started in the 80s. Hawkeye founded a West Coast team because they wanted to have multiple issues. They're like, we should make more Avengers comics, so they created a West Coast team.
And who better than Hawkeye to lead it all?
They recently brought it back.
Oh, okay. Oh, so maybe that is a reference to that then.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is.
Because this is a little bit weird of boy, there's crime all over this city, and Spider-Man's really the only superhero running around. What is Doctor Strange doing in there?
Well, yeah, because there's Sanctum's there, and you can take a picture of it.
Yeah, and he says, something's a little bit strange about this building.
And it's also where's Daredevil, or where's any of the other New York-based superheroes?
Right, I understand. But is a part of you guys hoping that eventually they'll get to teasing more Marvel stuff, or do you want it to be completely Spider-Man?
I think it'd be fun to see another character rather than just the towers.
Yeah.
Where's Four Freedoms Plaza too? I kept expecting that. But apparently it's the Fantastic Four building. Where's that one?
Oh, it's the Baxter building?
The Baxter building.
I think
that
it's in
used
there,
to be the big, is it? Because I missed it.
I haven't seen it yet, but I assume it would be.
Okay.
I can totally see a crossover being sort of the ending stinger of right at the end, post credits, Spider-Man's doing something and here's Iron Man. He's like, hey, Peter.
But that's such a
buy the
slippery
DLC.
It's such a slippery slope, and especially with Square having that deal for the Avengers games and stuff.
Yeah.
If they did it, maybe it would be more of the New York-based stuff and less the
Marvel
Avengers
Knights,
stuff.
yeah.
It would be hey, let's get the Defenders in there or something like that. Because
Good question.
they do have the Rand Tower. From Iron Fist in there. Apparently, it's where the Trump Tower is. They replaced Trump Tower with the Rand Tower.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Really makes you think about politics.
I wish I could replace.
Well, is this game woke, you guys?
Yeah.
Alias Investigations is also in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Tommy Benson says, I love the location and graffiti Easter eggs throughout New York City. These are fun to see as a Marvel Comics fan. My absolute favorite detail, though, is how amazing it is that you can see inside the majority of office windows from most skyscrapers throughout New York. Have you guys done that? Have you looked in the windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, they repeat kind of a lot.
They
if
do,
you
but
pay
it's still
too much attention. But that's still a cool effect.
Yeah, it's amazing that they went for that level of detail, even if it is a cheat in some ways.
Yeah, and there was one window that basically is two different apartments depending on which side you're on. So it would be this thing with an elevator or someone's apartment, depending on which side of the building you're on.
Doctor Strange is a mystical creature.
Some of them look pretty good, and then some of them are just you can tell it's just an art asset.
A flat,
It's
flat texture on a wall.
Right. Jacob Geller, he says, hello, everyone. Your third favorite previous intern here. Welcome. Let's talk about the city. Because we haven't really talked about it yet. Because holy crap, what a city. This is a weird comparison, but I haven't felt so awed by a game world since Breath of the Wild. Like in Zelda, there are times that I've turned a corner, unexpectedly run into an enormous vista, and literally gasped. The variety of buildings, the reflections in the windows, the constant street traffic. Sometimes I make myself walk around the city just to appreciate all the detail Insomniac put into every block. I saw a tweet that said something like, Spider-Man really is useless outside of New York. LMAO. That guy ain't swinging off crap in Dallas, Texas. And this game really gets that relationship. Spider-Man is the hero born of New York. He needs the city as much as the city needs him. I couldn't be happier. The game just nails it.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Jacob. Miss you.
Yeah, for sure. The just think about just the legal nightmare of trying to recreate New York City and all the approvals you'd have to go of what you can create and recreate versus what you have to make kind of abstract. What buildings are in the public domain? How does that work to have Rockefeller Center in there?
I don't know. Is there anything that's you cannot recreate this physical location?
I assume so. I assume
I don't know how that
issue.
works either, but that'd be an interesting feature.
Did you talk to him at all about that, Leo, on the Corpus Story trip? So you just avoided the interesting questions, or
I never considered that a building could be copyrighted because you can go to it. It's right there.
Yeah, you think it'd be public domain.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's probably some weird legal naming things, or even when you have to come up with the names for hundreds of different stores, trying to make sure that no one else has taken them. That's gonna be so hard.
I also like, speaking of stores, I like the way the combat shifts perspective when you're inside of a store and fighting people.
Yeah,
the
isn't
fixed
that
camera.
strange? Yeah.
That's great.
To his point, though, like it is fun walking around. What I've enjoyed walking around New York City is like looking at the billboards and like the ads for stuff. And there's like ads for movies, and I'm like, man, I want to know what that movie's about. Like, what is that movie like in fiction?
Yeah, Insomniac, make the movie. Don't be lazy. Come on, guys.
Guys,
Lazy
where
does.
is the movie?
Here's some random thoughts from Nathan Keeling. He says, as always, I took notes as I played, so pick and choose whatever you want. We'll read them all, sir. He says, I really like the amount of work they put into the Spidey forum/Twitter. That's in the menus. They did a great job of making it look like something you would see today. There's even an idiot defending Fisk after he gets arrested. The best account is JJ in Space, Fake JJJ News, and Wallcrawler's response to Screwball. Yeah, do you guys like those little tweet pop-ups, all that stuff?
I haven't seen that many of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know some a ton either.
Yeah, I haven't really read them, but I appreciate they're there. There's a lot of extra writing they had to do.
It is one of those things where I noticed, I'm like, oh, Spider-Man's on Twitter as like Spider-Man or whatever. And I'm like, some crazy hacker would be able to track that back to Peter Parker somehow, right? Some guy would like, track that back to like, you created this account on this computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute. This
Wait
is a bunch
a
of made-up
minute.
nonsense.
They figured out who Drill was, so
Yeah.
they could figure out who Spider-Man.
Drill is our modern Spider-Man, for sure.
Exactly.
Nathan says the best landmarks in the game are obviously Avenger Tower and Wakanda Embassy, which I haven't seen yet, but that's fun. He says they laughed out loud at the Stan Lee cameo. Glitches. He said he found a glitch where getting interrupted by police radio when near a police tower made it not possible to sync with it. That's interesting.
Oh, weird.
I fixed it by doing another activity and reloading the last checkpoint after that. Another glitch when trying to do Harry's lightning mission. Dying breaks the mission and forced me to end and restart the mission. And he is very, very disappointed that Doc Ock finds Peter with the Spider-Man suit, and jumps to, oh, you're a guy that works for the guy. Yeah, that's true. And Nathan was the one that didn't think Mary Jane's model looked great, but I think you're wrong there, Nathan.
Yeah, come on.
It's all
Nathan.
good.
I love her.
You guys want the most specific piece of feedback here?
Yes.
This is from Matthew Thies from Blacksburg, Virginia. Says, Dear Game Informer Show, I just finished playing Spider-Man for 8 hours straight, only stopping when I reached the end of Act 1. Suffice it to say, I'm enjoying my time with it. The web swinging feels great. The attention to detail in the city is astonishing. J. Jonah Jameson's podcast always merits a laugh. I found myself like stopping whatever I'm doing just to make sure I don't accidentally skip any of that podcast. I think it's really fun too.
Yeah.
However, the game has one glaring flaw. The prompt that appears whenever you're supposed to interact with an item, when it loads, it looks like a spinning circle. So my idiot brain always thinks, well, better press the circle button. But no, when it finally does load, it is revealed you're supposed to press triangle. You'd think I would learn after the first few times, but I'm always tricked by seeing a circle on screen. The game explains the rest of its complicated UI so well, but just fumbles with this one little thing. Absolute madness.
He is 100% correct. I had that same exact
Oh,
issue.
really? Wow, that's crazy.
That's
also,
surprising.
somebody else wrote in talking about just like the opening of the game, how much they throw at you. And I thought it was a lot. It was a lot of tutorials. I mean, they're not too in your face, but it's like there was a surprising amount of different move sets between the swinging and then the opening fights. Where it's like, oh, there's a lot to digest here out of the gate.
If I wasn't paying attention to the game so much ahead of its launch, I feel like I would just not know about certain things you can do.
Yeah.
Because like running on the wall, holding circles so you go around the corner, it only tells you that in like a tooltip on the loading screen.
Right.
It's super easy to miss that.
I don't think
feature.
I've been doing that at all. That's really helpful. Okay. Okay, Leo. Whatever. Nate McClellan says, did any of you
sorry.
guys read the novel that takes place before the events of the game? It's really great, but I'm a bit bummed the game hasn't made mention of stuff that happens in the novel. I didn't know this novel existed.
Me neither.
I won't spoil anything from the book, but there's some stuff that happens with the Shocker in the novel, but it isn't even hinted at in the game. Granted, the novel takes place months before the game opens up, but still. There's also a side mission that involves stopping some people from robbing a casino, and when you find the apartment they're in, the heist leader is named Nico, and he talks of hiring his brother's son, Roman, to help him. I thought that was a pretty
that's
cool
funny.
Easter egg. Yeah.
Is he talking about the graphic novel Amazing Spider-Man?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I skipped that word. Yeah, he's talking about the graphic
okay.
novel Amazing Spider-Man. Also, Austin from Howard, Indiana says, hey, GI guys, only an hour or so in, I just had to write it. Long live Spider-Cop. I don't know why it's such a funny segment of dialogue to me. I hope he comes back.
I like the implication that he's been doing that for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he's finally retiring.
Yeah, I thought that was fine. I thought that was funny enough. I was waiting for it to get grading, but it's like, okay, it's okay. It's pretty quick.
I thought it was funny at first, and I thought it overstayed as well.
But when the joke is that it is super not funny and Yuri's being
Yeah.
annoyed by
Yeah,
it, like
you
it kind of
keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, this Yuri character, I was shocked right out of the gate because I'm like, Yuri, why do I remember that? It's like, oh, that's right, the voice actor behind Spider-Man, his name is Yuri, and then the main
interesting.
or the first character you meet in the game is also Yuri. Does Yuri have a big presence in the comics?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
she's always just the Commissioner Gordon?
I wouldn't say it's not as big a. I wouldn't say it's as big a presence as like Commissioner Gordon has.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been around nearly as long.
But it is just that role in the comics as well?
Kind of the same role, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Also, like with Batman, like his relationship to the police is so like interesting and like sometimes tight. With Spider-Man, I don't feel like he needs to have a relationship with the police, and like they have never played that up quite to the same extent.
He just needs a scanner, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, I liked that.
I always feel it's super weird when he's standing there and talking to police in uniform.
Because that's not a thing Spider-Man does a lot.
It just feels weird to me, even when it does happen. It happens in comics, sure. But
Okay. I liked is early on when you're going up against some enemies and the police are there. The police go, "Spider-Man's here. He's gonna mess everything up." And then Spider-Man's like, "Hey, thanks for the confidence, guys." Like I like that dynamic instead of just being like, "Huzzah, Spider-Man!" It's like, "Oh God, this asshole's back." Like,
no, what are you gonna do?
It's also weird because I remember there was a line where he said, "Oh, I haven't been on. I've been on worse. I've been in a worse relationship with the police before," which implies that it's better than it has been.
Okay.
So maybe like that was sort of like, he's pretty tight with the police. And then there's a side mission where you can do where you're sort of trying to sort of free this guy from getting blackmailed for a crime he didn't commit.
Okay.
And at some point, towards the end of the quest, he says like, "Oh, I know someone on the force who can help you out." And I'm guessing it's Yuri, but like,
Yeah.
it definitely feels like they're kind of shifting between like police like Peter and they don't, which is like a weird
Yuri
thing.
does, but maybe the rest are kind of annoyed
Yeah,
by him. Is that the
maybe.
dynamic? Yeah.
With Osborn as the mayor, it'd be interesting if they play that up here in the next part of the game. Like he starts putting pressure on them or something to like catch Spider-Man or do something about that.
I don't
Spider-Man
think they
guy.
would let you kill police or at least like attack police in a Spider-Man game.
No,
No.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like the police are coming after you and you're trying to run or
Sure.
do something. you
One
know?
funny thing is when you're like fighting and the police are on your side.
Yeah.
I noticed they were using like taser bolts, like they were doing non-lethal attacks on the enemies to support you. And it's
Oh,
like, yeah, this
funny.
game feels very positive on police.
Yeah.
It thinks they're doing a good job.
Spider-Man's
Hey, okay with us? No problem here.
He's a
Moving
cop.
on. Yeah.
Spider cop.
Any other big thoughts?
I am not as sort of blown away by it as I think a lot of other people are, but I feel like this is I really like the way this game channels Spider-Man, but like I'm not into the game like 100%, but
It just feels too standard open world for you?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I wish it were a better game, but I feel like it's hard to like those chase missions that I don't like. Those feel like super a part of what Spider-Man is and does.
Okay.
But like I'm still kind of struggling with the idea of like this is a really good Spider-Man game, but I wish it were a better designed
Yeah.
game overall.
I hear you. I like just the cultural moment. I think this game is going to sell 1 gajillion units, and it seems like everybody in the
1
world is
gajillion.
playing it. But I love when the gaming culture rallies around one thing that we all kind of know and kind of already love. Like, you're just referencing Reeves. There have been so many Spider games, some not even that long ago, but this one is just like, no, now I love Spider-Man
Yeah.
again. Now I'm excited to talk about Spider-Man. It feels like everybody on Twitter, everybody in the gaming universe was all of a sudden like, you know what's awesome? Chili. I don't eat it that often, but let's all celebrate chili.
This is the year of chili.
It just feels like a celebration of something we've all lived with forever. You know?
Chili's back.
I feel like the other time this has
Insomniac,
happened this
chill.
year, I think, is with Dragon Ball. Like
Yes.
to a slightly smaller extent, but I definitely feel like a lot of people, it's like, you know what? This game reminded me that Dragon Ball is pretty cool.
Yes,
and
for
everyone just kind of like suddenly Dragon Ball is cool again because of this game.
And
I like that
Spider-Man,
comparison.
everybody loves again, no
Yeah.
questions asked because of this one game.
Coolest fictional character.
Which is also very funny, real quick. It's funny that, like, legally, what they call it, Marvel's Spider-Man is the official name of the game. But I love that everyone just calls it Insomniac Spider-Man. It's like this weird flip of, like, just leave the Marvel out completely. We'll add a word, though, and it'll be the word you won't want, Marvel. Yeah.
Right. So this game will do really, really well, and it will spawn more superhero games, right? Like a new wave.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, did the Arkham games spawn a new wave of hero?
I don't know
hero
about
games?
that.
I feel like the Arkham games are harder to. I think it inspired a lot of other games to be sort of influenced by them, but I feel like those games specifically, in terms of, I don't think it works for other superheroes. Whereas this feels a little bit more flexible. Although, like Spider-Man's sort of web swinging is not something that a lot of other characters can do, obviously.
Right.
But I feel like this sort of format feels a little bit easier to ape with other heroes.
Well, I think the only thing with that is like there's only so many characters that have cracked to the Spider-Man tier. You know, there's
Sure.
Batman, there's Superman, maybe Wonder Woman.
I think
but like,
Iron Man could totally work that way.
yeah, maybe Iron Man now at this point. But like, you can't do this with Daredevil because I mean, I think the game would still be fun if it was done well, but like
It's basically
Daredevil,
Quiet Man, but yeah.
people don't love Daredevil like they love Spider-Man,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
To the same universal appeal.
Yeah,
I think there's only a select number of characters you could do that with.
For sure.
So I don't think
Yeah,
we'll have
for
a
a
huge
big budget
explosion.
production, yeah.
But
I think
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
creatively, I think you're totally right that it'd be hard to adapt that with many other superheroes. But I mean, money talks. You know what I'm talking about?
Speaking of which, like,
yeah.
it's
But
got to
word
be
up,
so
man.
bizarre. Think about Insomniac's still an independent studio. Imagine how much they increased their worth to Sony buying them. Like,
Yeah.
clearly, Sony could have bought them years and years ago. So clearly, Ted Price, everybody else in Insomniac, is not interested in being bought. But like, with the success of this game, I'm sure Sony's a little bit nervous about like, we didn't make it. Technically, it's a developer we don't own.
Right.
But like, what? That asking price must have gone up by 4 times as much.
At
I'll just
least.
throw it out there. It's
Oh,
such
yeah.
a fun idea to think about.
to think back
Yeah.
when they made Fuse, like what's the difference?
Right.
Between Fuse
How much
and
would
this?
Sony have paid then versus
Yeah.
now? Yeah, but oh god, I wouldn't be surprised in the next 6 months if Sony bought them.
How pissed is Microsoft
just to
that-
try and lock that down.
their exclusive was like Sunset Overdrive, which
Right.
is fine, but like nowhere near this level. Then
Yeah.
they make an exclusive for Sony. It's like, oh, like
Well, I remember
incredibly
there was a
popular.
big cultural zeitgeist where everyone was talking about how much they loved Sunsets when that game
Yeah.
came out. Everyone was really rallying around this thing we all knew for so long.
Everyone installed
Sunset.
Overdrive into their cars.
I'd be remiss too if I didn't mention real quick the music. I think the main theme is so good. I think it's so important for a game like this to have an amazing main theme. And just, it reminds me of like Lego Batman 2, where every time you play as Superman and you fly off the ground even an inch, it'll start playing the John Williams theme, which
right.
never really got old. And then in this game, like the second you start swinging, it'll just start the strings rolling again. And it's so satisfying and so sweet.
Really great music.
Yeah. Especially just in that opening area, like that mission where I just avoided things as much as possible, just having that music just hit all out of the gate, just with that main theme driving it home. So sweet. Hey, everybody, that's a game club. Part 1.
That's right. Nobody wrote in saying they didn't like the game.
Somebody wrote in, I think it was Nick from Atlanta, I remember this, friend of the show, saying that he expected to like it more. Yeah. No one hates it.
Yeah, I really do like. I really do like the game. I just don't like. It'll probably
watch
be
and backpedal. now.
Well, I can see it sort of like cracking my top. It'll probably be on my top 10 list.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
probably be like
I'd be
bottom
surprised if it isn't.
Yeah.
half.
Okay.
That's sort of where.
I will say I let myself get too hyped, probably.
Yes. That's
It's
fair.
a very good game, but it's not like life-changing
Yeah.
the way I kind
well,
of
you've
thought it
only
would
played
be.
a third of it.
You're right.
Right,
It's true.
right. 2/3 of your life left as well. Okay, so the next episode. Do you guys want to do it next episode on the 20th? Can we get through Act 2 by then?
Heck yeah.
How long is that? A week?
We're going to go right up
Yeah.
till he meets Superman.
Yeah.
Wait, that's 2 weeks. Or is it?
I don't
No,
think
that's a
so.
week. I don't know
that's a
math.
week. Yeah.
Look,
so it's
I'm not
September
good at math.
20th,
What did
I
I
believe, will
say?
be the next episode
Yeah.
of the
You're
GI
right.
Game Club. And so where you'll stop then, it's very easy. End of Act 2. There should be a trophy to remind you of that. Or it is the last E3 demo involving the prison. So when you're done with the prison, that is the end of Act 2. So stop there. Thank God they had these E3 demos as the end of the acts.
Yeah, and the Act 3 finale as well. We all saw at E3.
Everybody remembers
Yeah.
E3 2012.
Where
They
he meets
hinted at it
Goku.
very subtly. Yeah, so that's the end of Act 2. So please write in with specific thoughts, the tiny details. That's what we want. Everything good like that. But I love the big overview stuff as well. But podcast@GameInformer.com. Please write in. Let's have some fun. That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.